On January 18th, 2025, TikTok died. Not metaphorically, not slowly, it died. 170 million Americans opened the app and saw a black screen. A message popped up. Sorry, TikTok isn't available right now. For 14 hours, the most addictive piece of software ever built went completely dark. No dances, no trends, no algorithm, just silence. Imagine the panic in the boardrooms. Imagine the Slack messages flying between Singapore and Beijing. Imagine Xu Zichu, the man who had spent years telling the world that TikTok was invincible, staring at his phone as his empire went offline in the single most important market on Earth. 14 hours. That's how long it took for the illusion to shatter completely. And then, the most humiliating moment in modern corporate history happened. TikTok sent a push notification to every single user. It read, "Thanks for your patience and support. As a result of President Trump's efforts, TikTok is back in the US." Let that sink in. A Chinese-owned company, valued at billions, reduced to groveling at the feet of a politician who had spent years threatening to destroy it. The CEO, Xu Zichu, had spent months testifying before Congress, swearing on everything holy that TikTok was independent, that American data was safe, that Beijing had no control. And when the lights went out, he didn't thank his engineers, he didn't thank his users, he thanked Donald Trump. But that was only the beginning of the embarrassment, because what happened next wasn't a rescue, it was a public execution disguised as a deal. ByteDance, the all-powerful Chinese parent company, didn't sell TikTok, they didn't save it, they handed over a fraction of it to American investors, kept the algorithm, kept the money, and pretended they'd lost. In reality, they played everyone. They played Congress, they played the Supreme Court, they played the American people, and they walked away with 19.9% of a company that was supposed to be completely divested. The algorithm still belongs to Beijing. The board still has Xu Zichu on it. The data still flows through Oracle servers, but the code that decides what 170 million Americans see, feel, and believe every single day, that code is still Chinese property. But here's the thing, they never had to lose. The downfall wasn't inevitable, it was a choice, a series of choices, made by arrogant men who believed they were smarter than the government, smarter than the press, and smarter than the very users they were exploiting. But to understand how they made a blunder this historic, we have to go back to the very beginning. In 2016, a quiet Chinese engineer named Zhang Yiming built something terrifying. He didn't just build an app, he built a weapon designed with one purpose, to hijack the human brain. Zhang Yiming wasn't a social media visionary, he was an algorithmic sociopath. While Facebook and Instagram were still pretending to be platforms for friends and family, Zhang looked at human psychology and saw a vulnerability. He saw that our brains are wired for novelty, for dopamine, for the endless scroll, and he decided to exploit it at a scale never before attempted. The result was Douyin. In China, it became an instant monster, but Zhang wasn't satisfied with conquering one market, he wanted the world. So, in 2018, ByteDance bought a failing lip-sync app called Musical.ly for $1 billion, merged it with Douyin's technology, and rebranded it as TikTok. And then, the illusion began. TikTok didn't grow, it exploded. It didn't attract users, it captured them. Within 2 years, it became the most visited website on the planet. Not Google, not Facebook, TikTok. The algorithm was so precise, so ruthlessly efficient at predicting what would make you stay, that people weren't just using the app for minutes, they were losing hours, days, lives. The genius of the illusion was this. TikTok convinced the world it was harmless fun. It was just dances, just recipes, just silly trends. But underneath, the machine was learning everything about you. Your face, your voice, your location, your keystroke patterns, your battery level, your emotional state, your browsing history, your apps, your files. And it was doing this while telling you it was just entertainment. Enter Xu Zichu, the perfect face for the perfect lie. Chu wasn't a tech founder. He was a Goldman Sachs banker turned venture capitalist turned polished spokesperson. He had led investments into JD.com, Alibaba, and Xiaomi. He had been the CFO of Xiaomi. He knew how to wear a suit, how to speak perfect English, and how to smile while lying to Congress. ByteDance hired him in 2021 because they needed a distraction, and Chu delivered. He became the human shield for an algorithm that didn't need a CEO. It needed a face that Congress wouldn't immediately distrust. By 2023, TikTok was everywhere. It had over 1 billion users globally. It was shaping elections, destroying attention spans, creating millionaire influencers overnight, and fundamentally rewiring how an entire generation processed information. Psychologists were already documenting what they called TikTok brain, a measurable decline in sustained attention, a fragmentation of focus, a generation of children who could no longer read books but could scroll for 6 hours straight. And Zhang Yiming, sitting in Beijing, believed he was untouchable. He built a digital empire that the American government couldn't regulate, couldn't compete with, and couldn't understand. But arrogance has a price, and Zhang was about to pay it in full. Because while TikTok was busy addicting teenagers and harvesting data, it was also making enemies, powerful enemies. And the most dangerous enemy of all was the truth. Every empire falls the same way. Not from external attack, from internal rot. And TikTok's rot started at the very top, with a project so sinister, so breathtakingly stupid, that it single-handedly destroyed any chance of trust forever. It was called Project Raven. In the summer of 2022, BuzzFeed News published a bombshell. 80 hours of leaked internal audio revealed what ByteDance had been denying for years. China-based employees were repeatedly accessing the private data of American users: birthdays, phone numbers, locations, private messages, everything. The leaks were devastating, but instead of admitting fault and fixing the problem, ByteDance did something far worse. They decided to hunt the leakers, and they decided to use TikTok itself as the weapon. Project Raven was an internal surveillance operation approved by ByteDance employees in Beijing. Its goal? Track the physical locations of journalists who were investigating the company. They used TikTok user data, they used IP addresses, they spied on Forbes reporters Emily Baker White, Catherine Schwab, and Richard Neva. They tracked where these journalists went, who they were near, and whether they had been in the same locations as ByteDance employees. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't a few rogue employees. This was a corporate-sanctioned espionage campaign against the free press, approved at the highest levels and executed using data of American citizens. When the story broke, ByteDance fired a few people and called it an egregious misuse of authority. They fired their chief internal auditor, Chris Lepetak. They fired his supervisor, Song Ye, who reported directly to the CEO. They called it the work of a small subset of people. But the damage was done. Senator Mark Warner put it perfectly. This is a direct assault on the idea of a free press. And yet, Project Raven was only the beginning of the blunders, because the real greed wasn't in spying on journalists, it was in the lie that made the spying possible. Xu Zichu had stood before Congress in March 2023, raised his right hand, and sworn an oath. He testified that American data was stored in Virginia and Singapore. He looked lawmakers in the eye and said, "The American data has always been stored in Virginia and Singapore." He said Chinese engineers only had access on an as-required basis. He made it sound clean, controlled, safe. He was lying. In 2023, Forbes revealed that TikTok had been storing the most sensitive financial information of its biggest American creators on servers in China. Tax forms, social security numbers, banking details, all accessible to ByteDance employees in Beijing. The data that creators trusted TikTok to protect was sitting in Chinese servers, available to the same people who had just finished spying on American journalists. Senator Marco Rubio didn't mince words. He sent a letter to the Justice Department demanding an investigation into Xu Zichu for perjury. Perjury. The CEO of a billion-dollar company potentially facing criminal charges for lying under oath to the United States Congress. And still, the blunders kept coming. A whistleblower came forward with a description of TikTok's internal tools that should have ended the company instantly. The whistleblower said ByteDance employees could switch between Chinese and American user data with nothing more than a click of a button, just like a light switch. All those promises about Project Texas, the $1.5 billion data security initiative, all those assurances about Oracle managing American data were revealed to be theatrical props. The wall between China and American data didn't exist. It was a fiction told by lobbyists to Congress while engineers in Beijing laughed. But there was more. Another whistleblower revealed an internal dashboard showing how TikTok's trust and safety team operated. They weren't prioritizing child safety. They weren't prioritizing the reports of harmful content featuring children. They were prioritizing relationships with politicians. When a complaint came in about a child being exploited, TikTok employees might wait, but when a politician complained, that got instant attention.
The algorithm wasn't just amoral. It was actively political, actively manipulative, and actively protective of power rather than people. And then there was the Lark scandal. Lark was an internal collaboration tool similar to Slack, used by thousands of ByteDance employees across the world. Through Lark, TikTok employees were sharing American user data casually. They shared images of identification documents. They shared child sexual abuse materials. They discussed private user complaints in group chats where China-based employees could see everything. When a British user reported inappropriate behavior during a live stream, TikTok employees used Lark to discuss the incident and share her personal data across the company. This wasn't a secure system. It was a digital break room where your private life was the entertainment. But the greed wasn't just about data. It was about the product itself. Because TikTok wasn't just harvesting information, it was harvesting children. The Blackout Challenge killed kids. Children as young as 8 years old choked themselves to unconsciousness because an algorithm decided that the content would keep them watching. A 10-year-old girl in Pennsylvania died attempting it. Her mother's lawsuit argued that TikTok's algorithm didn't just host the content, it actively promoted it. It pushed it to children who weren't searching for it. The algorithm served death to kids on a silver platter, optimized for engagement. Then came the devious licks trend. Students across America stole soap dispensers, fire extinguishers, urinals, and classroom equipment, causing thousands of dollars in damage, all for TikTok clout. One school district in California reported $7,000 in damage. A teacher in Texas found her classroom destroyed, posters torn off walls, books cut apart with a paper cutter. Schools closed bathrooms. Teachers watched their classrooms get destroyed. And TikTok made money off every view. Internal documents revealed that TikTok's own researchers knew minors couldn't control their screen time. They lacked the executive control function to stop scrolling. TikTok knew this. They built the app anyway. They built it to be addictive. They built it to exploit developing brains. And when parents started filing lawsuits, when school districts joined the fight, when the White Mountain Apache tribe cited suicide rates 3.5 times the national average among their youth, TikTok settled. They paid $8 million to a Kentucky school district and called it a cost of doing business. By 2024, the company was spending over $7 million on lobbying Congress. They hired an army of influence peddlers. They ran television ads in swing states. They told Americans that banning TikTok would trample First Amendment rights. They spent millions convincing the public that they were the victims, that the government was the villain, that a Chinese company harvesting American data was somehow an exercise in free speech. The arrogance was staggering. They thought money could fix everything. They thought lobbyists could outrun justice. They thought Shou Zi Chew's smile could make Congress forget the lies, the spying, the dead children, and the shattered minds. They were wrong. On April 24, 2024, the hammer fell. Congress passed the Protecting Americans from Foreign Adversary-Controlled Applications Act. It wasn't a suggestion, it was an ultimatum. ByteDance had 270 days to sell TikTok, or the app would be banned from every app store in America. No updates, no downloads. A slow digital death by obsolescence. TikTok panicked. They filed lawsuits. They claimed the law was unconstitutional. They argued it violated First Amendment rights of 170 million Americans. They took it all the way to the Supreme Court, begging, pleading, demanding that the judiciary save them from the legislature. On January 17, 2025, the Supreme Court unanimously upheld the ban. Every single justice. The ruling was brutal. The court acknowledged that TikTok offered a distinctive and expansive outlet for expression to 170 million Americans. But then they added the killing blow. Congress has determined that divestiture is necessary to address its well-supported national security concerns. National security, not a theory, not a partisan attack, a determination by the elected government of the United States that TikTok, as currently structured, was a threat to the nation. And then TikTok did something that proved they never believed their own lies. They shut themselves down. On January 18, 2025, 12 hours before the ban was even set to take effect, TikTok voluntarily went dark. They pulled the plug. They showed 170 million users that black screen. And in doing so, they revealed their true fear. They weren't afraid of losing users. They were afraid of what would happen if the app stayed up but couldn't be updated. They were afraid of the slow death, so they chose the dramatic one, hoping for a rescue. And a rescue came, but not the one they wanted. Donald Trump, the same man who had first threatened to ban TikTok in 2020, swooped in and extended the deadline. He signed executive order after executive order, one in January, another in April, another in June, another in late September, a fifth in late September. He bypassed Congress 5 separate times. He bypassed the Supreme Court. He treated federal law like a suggestion and TikTok like a bargaining chip. And TikTok, which had spent years pretending to be a fearless global giant, groveled. They sent that push notification thanking Trump. Shou Zi Chew flew to Mar-a-Lago to kiss the ring. He attended Trump's inauguration. The man who had sworn TikTok was independent and American-friendly was now bowing to a politician to save his Chinese-owned company from the law. But the execution wasn't over, because the deal that finally emerged in January 2026 wasn't a sale, it was a surrender dressed in corporate jargon. The new entity, TikTok USDS, was formed. Oracle got 15%, Silver Lake got 15%, MGX, a UAE state-backed firm, got 15%. Existing ByteDance investors held about 30%, and ByteDance itself? ByteDance kept 19.9%, just under the 20% threshold that would have triggered the ban. They didn't sell, they franchised. They kept the secret recipe and sold the right to use it. The algorithm, still owned by Beijing. The board, Shou Zi Chew, still sits on it, alongside Oracle executives and private equity billionaires. The data? Oracle promises to watch it, but the underlying technology, the secret sauce that makes TikTok addictive, remains under Chinese control. As Harvard Law cybersecurity expert Timothy Edgar put it, the deal doesn't resolve the national security risks. In his view, it makes the problem worse. It creates a franchise deal that leaves the core technology in China while slapping an American label on the front. And the world had already watched this movie before. In June 2020, India banned TikTok permanently. 200 million users gone overnight. The Indian government cited the exact same concerns: data security, national sovereignty, Chinese surveillance. TikTok lost an estimated $6 billion in value from that single decision, and India didn't look back. Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts filled the void within months. The Indian market moved on, and TikTok, despite all its lobbying, all its threats, all its arrogance, was powerless to stop it. By 2025, the lawsuits were overwhelming. Over 2,400 cases pending in federal court. States like Hawaii, Florida, and New York sued for intentionally addicting children. School districts across the country joined the fight. The Breathitt County School District in Kentucky settled for $8 million, a fraction of the $60 million they had sought for the mental health crisis TikTok helped create. The first bellwether trial, scheduled for January 2026, was settled by TikTok at the last minute, avoiding the public spectacle of internal documents being read aloud in court. ByteDance's profits? They plummeted over 70% in 2025, driven by AI investments and the massive costs of fighting for survival in America. The company that once thought it was untouchable was bleeding money, bleeding trust, and bleeding users to competitors who didn't have to worry about congressional subpoenas. The public execution was complete, not with a single bullet, but with 1,000 cuts. Congressional hearings, Supreme Court rulings, journalist exposés, dead children, addicted teenagers, spied upon citizens, and a CEO who went from tech darling to political pawn in the span of 2 years. TikTok didn't just lose America, it lost its innocence, it lost its narrative, and most importantly, it lost the one thing a surveillance company cannot function without: the belief that no one was watching. So where are they now? Where are the architects of the great TikTok illusion, and what is left of the empire they built on lies? Zhang Yiming remains in the shadows. He stepped down as ByteDance CEO years ago, but he never left the throne. He still controls the company, he still owns the algorithm, and he still sits atop a fortune built on the most efficient attention extraction machine in human history. But that fortune is shrinking. ByteDance's overseas revenue may have grown, but their profits have collapsed. The Indian ban cost them billions. The American legal battles cost them billions more. And the global reputation of TikTok as a Chinese surveillance tool has permanently damaged its ability to expand into new markets. Shou Zi Chew is still the CEO of TikTok globally. He still smiles for the cameras. He still attends the Met Gala, but his credibility is ash. He was caught lying to Congress. He was accused of perjury by a sitting senator. He became the public face of a company that spied on journalists, exploited children, and groveled to a politician to avoid obeying the law. His legacy isn't innovation, it's deception. And TikTok itself? It still exists. It still dances. It still serves infinite scrolls of content to millions of Americans. But it is no longer the fearless insurgent. It is a company operating under a conditional pardon. The new American entity, TikTok USDS, is led by Adam Presser, a former chief of staff to Chew, reporting to a board that includes the same people who built the machine. The board includes Chew himself. It includes Kenneth Gluck from Oracle. It includes private equity executives from Silver Lake and Susquehanna International Group. The algorithm is being retrained on American data, they say, but the original code, the DNA of the beast, still belongs to ByteDance. The app you open today looks the same, but behind the screen, it is a fractured, compromised, legally embattled shadow of what it once claimed to be. The creators who built livelihoods on the platform are now building escape routes. The advertisers who poured billions into TikTok are diversifying. The users who grew up on the app are experiencing something the algorithm never prepared them for: uncertainty. Here is the pathetic, chilling lesson of TikTok's downfall. Zhang Yiming, Shou Zi Chew, and ByteDance didn't fail because they were evil. They failed because they believed their own mythology. They believed that being indispensable meant being immune. They believed that if they addicted enough people, if they harvested enough data, if they made themselves too big to ban, the world would simply have to accept them. They were wrong. And every tech founder watching from Silicon Valley, every executive in Beijing, every arrogant billionaire who thinks the rules don't apply to them should be taking notes. Because in the end, TikTok didn't fall because America was afraid of China. It fell because TikTok was afraid of the truth. And the truth, unlike a TikTok trend, doesn't disappear after 15 seconds. It stays, it festers, and eventually, it destroys everything built on lies. The algorithm is still running, but the illusion is dead. And somewhere in Beijing, Zhang Yiming is still scrolling. Not for fun, not for entertainment, but because he built a machine that no one can stop. Not even him.